Two quick things before we start the video. One, join my Discord. Number two, today's video is sponsored by none other than GE for War Thunder. GE for War Thunder is an app available on the Google Play Store in which you will complete tasks of varying difficulty. The payout in Golden Eagles is determined by how difficult the task was to do, and the more Golden Eagles you guys accumulate using my link in the description down below, I can do Golden Eagle giveaways. So get yourself that modification or maybe a day of premium for grinding using my link in the description down below for 10 extra Golden Eagles. Top tier ARB, where only the greatest War Thunder pilots meet up to duke it out in 16 vs 16 Fox 3 combat. The visually stunning gameplay of just cutting edge dogfight maneuvers, fast paced showcases of individual skill, and just honestly seeing the underdog win. Just beautiful moments here at top tier. And what better plane to experience that with than the F-15C Eagle? If you want a cool Eagle decal, you should check out my decal, link in the description down below. 3% off anything in the Gaijin store. We're taking out the F-15C today, except not really today because these clips are actually pretty old. But I've been sitting on them for a while, and really this game in particular really does a good job at summing up what it's like to truly have a top tier fight with somebody else that actually is competent at top tier, and you're going to see exactly what that'll look like. And I want you guys to tell me in the comments down below what you think of this gameplay. Is it entertaining? Do you wish it was you in this position? Let me know. So of course we start at high altitude because the Eagle is very good at being at high altitude. Eagle on top, as they say. Really strong engines, really good high altitude performance, lets you climb up, get your AMRAAMs off from high altitude, high range, and defend incoming missiles. It's very easy to stay fast, it's very easy to get fast, and kinetically bleeding missiles is not that hard. The only problem is when you are defending against missiles, your RWR is going off for literally 2 minutes straight. So if you guys enjoy RWR sounds, this is the video for you, because for the next 2 minutes, that's all you're going to be hearing. It does get a lot more exciting later on, I promise, but I do like to start out my matches in the Eagle with some opening long-range BVR engagements. It's always funny when you get that rare 40-50 kilometer kill and that funny sound pops up. That's really what I'm going for here. I'm not really expecting to hit anything though. If you want to be competitive, if you want to play to the best of your abilities, I really don't advise launching at those 40-50 kilometer ranges, and especially not at people at high altitude, because more than likely they're going to be doing exactly what I did. Dump their missiles off and then just go cold. In my opinion, the most competitive and consistent use for long-range AMRAAM shots are going to be at the people at low altitude that are still trying to multipath, even though it's like pretty much just a gamble at this point whether or not your multipath is going to work or not. And it's honestly not too difficult to pick up a kill or two once in a while at people from far range that are really close to the ground, similar to that JAS 39 I just picked off right there. But of course the RWR is still going off, so I'm not quite in the clear yet. There are missiles behind me. If they're behind me like that, more than likely I've already trashed them. I'm probably going faster, so I'm not really worried about it. Just constantly checking my RWR direction to see if anything new's coming in, but I really don't think so. So we're just going to turn around, try to find the rest of the enemy team, because at this point there's still a couple guys alive. And I have 4 AMRAAMs, and this Gripen is just kind of climbing to space. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but we're just going to send an AMRAAM at him because my radar says that he is within range even if he's flying cold from me. So I fully expect that thing to get there in time. The problem is that he's got infinite amount of countermeasures. They deploy extremely well and consistently for him, and he just kind of pops chaff in a straight line and my missile goes stupid. Unlucky, but I have 3 more AMRAAMs because this thing carries 8 total AMRAAMs. Kind of crazy, and very often I actually do just take 8 AMRAAMs because IR missiles really aren't that useful in this day and age for top tier. Shoot a second AMRAAM cold as he's climbing away once again at 6 kilometers roughly, and again he just kind of flies in a straight line and chaffs the AMRAAM. An immaculate display of skill from the Gripen here, if I do say so myself. And now we're getting RWR pings off to the right. There's an F-15. I don't know if you guys have seen as I'm kind of moving my camera around frantically. I saw the missile diamond pop up a couple of times, I think. But in real time, I'm not quite sure I saw it. I just saw the RWR, so I'm just kind of chaffing in the relative angle of which I've seen RWR. And there's the missile diamond once again. Gives me an idea of where to look, and I do actually see the dot. I don't know if you guys can see the dot or not. Lock him up. Debating on whether or not I should shoot here. I kind of want to shoot just to get him full defensive as I recommit to the Gripen, but the Gripen's already committing back into me, so I'm just going to save the shot on the F-15, shoot another one off at the Gripen as soon as I actually get a solid lock, and he's pretty much dead at this point. He very well could have tried to trade with me if he gets his missile off earlier. I don't think he had an AMRAAM. This is 9M that flies by here. And luckily it just did not have the energy to make that shot at that range and that speed, because I was just popping chaff the entire time, not realizing that it was an AIM-9M. However, I still have that F-15 kind of behind me now at this point and low altitude. I'm keeping an eye on the RWR for him, as I'm also looking for him with my own eyes, seeing if I can find a dot. And there's a short little period here where I'm not getting anything as I dive away. I'm kind of thinking maybe he moved on to one of my teammates or something, and then I get locked again and I see a missile diamond. So he is behind me, he is shooting at me, but I'm pretty much at a perfect position right now where all I have to do is turn a little bit, pop my infinite amount of chaff that the F-15 carries, pull in here for an HMD AMRAAM shot, and this right here is going to be the highlight of the video. Not this engagement specifically, but how that happened, and you'll see why in just a minute. 19-kilometer radar missile HMD is absolutely critical to having a competitive plane in today's top tier environment. When it comes to a Fox 3 battle against two competent top tier players, it is a necessity. You are not going to win that 1 versus 1 if you do not have this equipment on your plane. Even maybe more often than not, if your plane has better flight performance but you don't have that HMD, you'd still probably die to their Fox 3 capability. And it's a simple matter of positioning, forcing somebody defensive, being able to time when they're defensive, when you're offensive. It's crucial. When you're launching these Fox 3s, you just simply have to launch them just because sometimes. And that really sucks because you know you're wasting missiles and you want all of your missiles to be kills, but just the unfortunate reality of this style of combat, you have to waste missiles as utility rather than just going for kills sometimes. And so I've RTB'd and I've taken off to immediately be met with more AMRAAMs and more RWR warnings. So I'm running for terrain, if nothing else, just to shut up the RWR. But you know what, that's perfect because I have to mute some of the audio anyways. You can imagine my mental state and the degradation of it as I listen to this RWR go off for pretty much the entirety of this match. Finally, I find some kind of mountain or a hill to hide behind, and this at least hides me from his radar and his constant spam of more missiles. So I just peek over the hill, try to find him on my radar as quickly as possible because I want to get one of my own missiles off on this guy. He's been shooting at me non-stop, it's kind of pissing me off. My RWR is going off once again, there's missiles flying right toward me, but I keep pushing, trying to find him on my radar, and luckily I am able to kinetically dodge an AMRAAM a last second. It must have been low on energy, otherwise I would have definitely died. And at that point, I'm like, the hell with this. I gotta go defensive once again, try to find some terrain once again, and then maybe, I don't know. I don't even know what I was doing wrong with my radar because I was in the high vertical scan and I kind of knew exactly where he was coming from because of the RWR, so I don't know how I never ended up seeing him, but nonetheless, we use the mountain, get the missiles off of us, turn back around one more time, and there we go. His launch tells us where he is. That's why I wasn't able to see him on my radar. He's so high up. You simply just notch and chaff, as I do here. You re-engage, and that's exactly what he's going to do as well. He re-engages first, which is what he wants to do, but I have enough space I can still notch and chaff. Look at the speeds this fight is happening on. We're going to turn back in once again. We're at 400 kilometers. It's a race to who can get their AMRAAM off first. I get one off, he gets one off, we both go for the notch and chaff again, and now it's all about timing. You don't want to over defend these missiles because then you're not going to be able to fire another one off at them before they fire one at you. I'm able to bring my nose around before him because I wasn't quite as aggressive with my defensiveness, and I shoot a 9M and an AMRAAM at him, and he's just got no chance at that point. They're too close, he's not going to be able to change his angle in time, and that's the end of the fight. A fight that mostly happened at less than 600 kilometers because it really does not matter in 1v1 scenarios what your flight performance is, what your dogfighting skill is. If you can't constantly get into the notch and spam chaff with your unlimited countermeasures and good AOA with good thrust to weight that lets you just kind of sit on your engines when you're making low speed, high AOA maneuvers, you're cooked. You're going to be falling victim to 19-kilometer HMD with planes that have plenty of countermeasures to spare, like the F-15, like the Gripen, and you're never even going to make it to the merge. You can't reliably multipath. Maybe you'll make it to the merge if you get lucky, but like I said, it's kind of just a roll of the dice. You're probably going to get splash damage by AIM-120s as you're trying to do that, but be my guest, sometimes it does work out and then you'll have them by the balls because of your flight performance, sure, but that's not something I want to rely on these days. The F-15 fits the meta so well because it's fantastic in those kind of 1v1 situations where you have to spam your chaff, spam your missiles, go low speed with high angle of attack maneuvers to get that notch and chaff, but it's also just good at not doing that too. In the typical 16 versus 16 environment, the team aspect gameplay of things, it stays fast, it has a great flight model for that type of combat, it's got a lot of missiles, you got 8 AMRAAMs on there, you have a large impact potential on the match, even if you're using some of your missiles as utility rather than kills. Something like the Gripen, on the other hand, once a great and deadly plane at top tier, isn't quite so important anymore. It has a lot of countermeasures, it can do the low angle of attack 1v1 AMRAAM HMD spamming like you were just seeing in that F-15 clip, but it doesn't have the impact potential. It only has 4 AMRAAMs total, and that's if you have one with AMRAAMs. In my opinion, I need to have at least 6 active radar homing missiles for me to actually feel like I have a competitive loadout compared to something like an F-15 or an Su-27 or a J-10. I think 6 is pretty much just the standard at this point, and anything higher than that is more than welcome. And so for all these reasons, I do think that the F-15C is pretty much the best top tier in the game right now. Sure, the F-15CJ, I don't know, the Japanese F-15C is technically better than the US one. They both get AMRAAMs, but the Japanese one gets the AAM-4 as well as the AAM-3, which are a little bit better than the US missiles. Then of course you have the Israeli F-15C that did just get a buff, and now it's actually equal to the US F-15 rather than being worse than all of them. I don't think the F-15C is something as crazy as, like, say the Gripen was during IRCCM meta, but I do think that it's quite obvious that the F-15C is certainly the most suited plane for this meta for active radar homing. You have all the countermeasures you could ask for, sure not Gripen level, but I never run out in the F-15, let's be honest. The radar is fantastic, you have 19 kilometer HMD, you have AIM-9Ms if you want them, you have the ability to carry 8 AMRAAMs. Sure, the dogfight performance isn't the best by any means, it's actually not that great honestly, but in top tier ARB, you really don't need to have a great 1v1 plane. It's just gotta be good enough, and then the lack of skill on the other team's side will more than make up the difference for you. Many of you know the F-15C is my favorite plane of all time, so I had to do another video on it. Let me know what you guys think about the F-15 in War Thunder. Let me know what you think about it in real life. If it's the coolest plane of all time, type in Eagle on top in the comments. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.